Can you tell I'm happy? Doesn't take much. I've been very excited about doing this because it sort of forces me to look at my life and why I'm doing what I'm doing in a way that focuses me, that otherwise wouldn't. I would just go around doing my thing. But this makes me look at, what are you doing? So I wanted to show you this cartoon. I just like this. Look at this cartoon. This is, can you see this is Kermit the Frog, and he's in a doctor's office. The doctor's sitting behind a desk, okay? And the doctor's looking at an X-ray, and this is what he says to him. You get that? Like, poor little Kermit, he's sitting there like, what? It's like, there's a hand inside your head, and that's what's been flapping your jaws all this time. You know what I mean? Like, that's Jim Henson. That's not you. He says, are you really sure you want to know it? It just killed me. It was like so profound because it's not so far off from the rest of us. I hate to tell you this. Haven't you ever had that thought, like, who is saying this stuff? I made a decision because of my criticisms of my father's parenting that I would never, ever say the things that he said to me when I had kids. Did you ever have that happen? And this boom comes out, and it's like, who was that? That was my father. He just spoke through me. It's like I could feel the hand yapping. It doesn't matter what you decide. It still comes through you. So very often, when you hear people speak, when you get in touch with who you really are, it's easier to see in other people than in yourself. But you know how you can see another person's highest good? You can see their highest nature, even if they can't see it. They're miserable and they look lovable or something. So it's like, when you see that, it's easy to make a distinction, like they just said something and you just know that that wasn't them. Like, I don't know who said that, but that wasn't you, that was your fear, or that was your ego, or that was some opinion that you heard somewhere that you got from your parents or somebody. But that really wasn't you. And yet that thing has a microphone, and it's able to speak all it wants. So anyway, this just hit me. For the most part, when we're talking about happiness, and that's what today's talk is about, we live in two worlds. We really do. We live in an external world. That's where we have work and friends and family, and that's where we do everything out in the world. And then we also have a virtual world, a world inside of our head. And if you ask the virtual mind, what do you think we need to do to be happy? It'll almost always direct you to the external world. Well, get a better job, do this, switch this, do that. Follow your passion, do what you like, find out what you like. What color's your parachute? You know, it's like, it'll give you all kinds of advice, but if you really look, the advice will not be to go inside. The advice will be to go out there and make something happen and take massive action and just change your thoughts and do this and whatever. But it still feels external. Even if it's some self-improvement course, there's something about that that feels external. And this virtual world, this virtual mind inside of us, that's what has the hook on our happiness, not the things outside. I'm going to give you a number of different stories and examples, but I'm sure you already kind of know this. It's just not out there. It looks like it would be. But when you get it, it doesn't do what it was supposed to do. But you got all this advice to go out there and make it happen. So what happens inside is that your virtual mind has control over your emotions. And your emotions determine how you experience what's going on out there. I don't know if you've had this happen, but I've been in horrible circumstances and kind of found some humor in it. And I've been in idyllic circumstances and been completely in my head, like smoke coming out of my ears, over something else, I'm upset with somebody, or So we all kind of intrinsically know it, but we're still led there. We're always led back out. And it turns out that happiness and unhappiness are both created internally. We do it in here. We don't do it out there. If you've ever had the circumstance of being fired, which I actually think is a valuable circumstance for people to go through, but if you've ever been fired, which I have, they did it nicely, like, we're going to offer you a contract and you're not going to accept. All right. Didn't want to look bad, but you're moving on. Okay. So like, okay. So I thought it was devastating, and I thought it was the worst thing, and I was very upset. But when you think, why were you upset? You say, well, because I was fired. Well, not really. Because I'm upset because of something in here, of what I'm making it mean, of what I think that says about me, about what I think other people are going to think. It's not because I was fired, because, and this often happens, years later, your circumstances change. I look back on that firing as the best thing that ever happened to me. The best. I didn't like that circumstance, and I didn't even know it, and I needed somebody outside of myself to say, you shouldn't be here. And I changed my career path, and it got much, much better. And so what changed? Nothing. I was still fired. I was still fired. So it's not the event. It seems like it's the event, but it's not the event. It's what I make it mean, and that changes over time. Now looking back, kind of was a good thing. Haven't you had that experience yourself? Something that you thought was terrible turned out to be pretty good, and glad it didn't go that way? We've all had that. So this virtual mind, by the way, there's a little design to it. The way our brains are organized, it's all about survival. We just want to survive. That's all it's interested in. Nothing else. It's not even personal. It's just survival. And so if you want to survive, you remember everything that ever happened to you. So your brain and your mind remembers every single experience you ever had. And any that look like they threaten your survival, like when you lose your consciousness or fall down the steps or somebody yells at you or some kind of PTSD kind of thing, that takes a fast snapshot and you get every single input memorized. Where you were, what was the angle, what was the air smell like, what was the lighting like. Anything that threatens your survival will be a big deal to your internal virtual world because it doesn't want you to die. But over time, this thing that doesn't want you to die thinks it is you, and that's your ego. And so it really doesn't want you to look outside. It's going to direct you outside because it doesn't want you to look inside for your happiness. What do you think you might find out if you looked inside for your happiness, where it doesn't want you to go? What do you think? You might not need an ego. I saw another great cartoon. I didn't capture it, but imagine this guy's like a Zen monk, and he's in a lotus position, and he's meditating. And then at one point, he opens his eyes, and he says, the individual ego does not exist. And then he closes his eyes again. And like 3 frames later, this little thought comes in. He goes like, I am so freaking enlightened. This thing gets subtle if you get subtle. It's not going to give up. So anyway, I think that if you really sort of get that the thoughts that you have, in Unity we teach that all of our thoughts create. And you put a thought together with a feeling, it really creates. So if you believe something strongly, these beliefs are what control our emotions. And it can make you upset or not upset, but it's all an inside job. Interestingly, it also works, I've studied Joe Dispenza too, and it also works in reverse. That, he says, nerves that fire together wire together. And so it's possible that your thoughts will bring up feelings, but it's also possible your feelings will bring up thoughts. It goes the other way. When I'm sick, when I have the flu or something like this, I always say to my wife, never interview me in this state. I'm very pessimistic. All of my thoughts become very negative, and I'm always sick. What's the matter? And when I'm not sick, I don't think I ever get sick. So these things can be triggered in both directions. And a lot of it has to do with what you believe. Henry Ford used to say, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And we all think that a change in our circumstances would be better. Now, there is certain value. If you ask your internal mind, your ego, what do you think I should do? Some of the advice is pretty good. Find what you love and do that. Follow your passion. Put yourself into it. All those things. That'll lead you on the path to happiness. But it won't make you happy. I have a number of clients who are incredibly externally successful. Very, very expensive cars, great houses. I know this one guy who, just speaking like this, makes over $1 million a year, just himself. Not happy, though. And his belief about himself is not the same as what the external does. And he's not unique. Most of us are like this. You have something that promises to make you happy, it doesn't necessarily do that. Ever since I've been married, I have this fantasy that I would be like my parents and ride bikes with my wife someplace, okay? It's never really come off. But this coming Wednesday, my wonderful wife has agreed to drive to Florida with me with the bikes on the back. We have electric bikes. Okay? We're bringing them. And I can see the buildup, okay? Like, this is going to be it. Lauren and I riding around in Florida, and it's like, I've seen this movie before. And I said to her last night, I said, you know what? I'm just sort of happy that we're doing it. I don't know if we're going to it might rain. A whole bunch of things could happen. We might not get to do it. It may not be the thrill I thought it would be of, mimicking my parents' life, but we're doing it. And what I notice is I'm just happy about all of it. I'm happy packing up. I'm happy, all this stuff. I got this bike trailer on the back of the car. It's like on 2 cars because it holds her trike and my bike behind the car. So it's this big deal. I had this feeling like these heavy electric bikes, in the front of the wheels come up as we're riding. Anyway, it'll be what it'll be. But I'm just happy that we're doing it. And it'll be whatever it'll be, you see? So it's less of an attachment towards how it shows up and whether it fits this picture. I don't really think the bike riding's going to do me. So there's nothing wrong, I was going to say, with pursuing what you think would make you happy. This does make me happy to ride the bike, and I love riding with her. But it won't guarantee your happiness. The only thing that does that is to get in touch with your true nature. That song, My Divine Nature. When you're in touch with that, then you just feel love. Everything looks good. It all works out. People look beautiful. You've had this experience. So the beliefs just never quit, and they really can't be fixed externally. There's this cute movie that's out now. I haven't seen it yet, but I saw a review of it. Have you heard of this called I Feel Pretty with Amy Schumer? Anyway, it's a girl with low self-esteem, which so many people have. And unjustifiably. Haven't you ever noticed people who just have low self-esteem? Like, why? I don't get it. I think you look fine. And they just argue for their limitations. So this girl with low self-esteem, she bonks her head, and all of a sudden she thinks she looks gorgeous. And her whole life externally changes because she feels differently about herself. It changes you when you feel differently about yourself. Anyway, I wanted to tell you this story. Somebody told this to me. I just thought this was cool. It has to do with our reactions to circumstances. I'll try to go through it as quickly as I can. There were these, in the early 1920s, there were these 2 cousins who lived in England. One day, each cousin, they weren't very close to each other. They lived in different cities. Each cousin got a bag of, they had bag of Krugerrands, which is the currency of bullion for South Africa, because their uncle had died and left each of them a huge bag of these gold bullion Krugerrands, which is a fortune. And they had very different reactions. The first cousin said, "This is incredible. This is amazing. I'm going to bury this. This is kind of, I'll always have a nest egg. I'm going to bury this in the backyard." So he goes in the backyard, digs a hole, he buries it in there, and it changes him. Something, knowing he has that money, he loosens up. And his kids notice it. Like, "Dad, you're just saying yes a lot more." He says, "Yeah, it's okay." He just knows that he has this thing. Well, as it turns out, he doesn't, because the next day his neighbor saw him do that and dug up the gold. And then the neighbor said to him, "Oh, we're moving to Manchester. Nice to see you." He says, "When are you leaving?" "Not today." "Really? Who's going to sell the house?" "Oh, we'll have somebody over sell it. See you later." Neighbor takes off, says, "Okay, bye." Never checked. Never checked. Never had the slightest thought that it wasn't out there. So his life just got better and better. It was just easier. He walked around with confidence and knowing that he was okay. He just had a great life. The other cousin had a very different reaction. He was given the money. At first he was like all excited. And then he just started thinking about it. And he said, "I got to bury this money. But you know what? There's nothing about this bullion that accrues to me. In other words, if somebody takes this from me, it's theirs. There's no label on this. This doesn't say it's my gold. It's my gold if I hold it. But if I'm not holding it and somebody else grabs it, it's their gold." So it was like weird about it. So he says, "Well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait until it's a new moon, and I'm going to bury this money. But I'm going to bury it in a way that no one else can find it." So he waits till the new moon, and it turns out it's raining too. Perfect. He waits till 2 in the morning, and he has this whole system where he's going to walk out 10 paces this way, 9 paces this way, 8 paces. He does this whole thing, buries it, covers it up, and just as he's burying it, he hears like a sash window open or close or something in the dark. Weirds him out. But he goes back inside, and he's got the money back there, and his whole life changed. He became paranoid. He became like worried about somebody getting the money. He was always staring out the backyard. The dirt looks like it's been mussed up. I don't know. I think that neighbor, he starts worrying about his neighbor, and after a while, he got worse and worse. His kids were like, "What's with Dad? He doesn't want to do anything. He just wants to stay home because he wants to watch that money." So he wouldn't go out to dinner, and he wouldn't do anything, and he was just worried that somebody's going to steal his money. Finally, he's convinced himself, this is all internal, that someone has stolen his money. He's sure of it, as a matter of fact. So he waits for the next new moon, and he goes and does his formula, and he's completely crazy. And it's raining now, and he's like 10 steps, 9 steps. Anyway, he digs it up, and sure enough, he was right. The money was stolen, and it was gone. And that did it. He was like completely a mess after that. Well, it turns out he just counted wrong. The money was still there. A couple years later, each of them booked passage on a new ship called the Titanic, and that was the end of both of them. But anyway, for the purposes of the story, I just thought that was kind of amazing, that it doesn't really matter what your external circumstances. The guy who was happy thought he was rich, he wasn't. The guy who was miserable thought he had been robbed, he hadn't been. He had all the money, but he was miserable, you see? So it's all kind of in our control and what we make it mean. And the second guy sort of always thought that the money was almost like a curse. You can see his money got much worse. Sometimes they follow these people who are lottery winners. Strange, strange reactions to winning the lottery. So what do you do about all this? We can't always change the external circumstances. And I'm not saying to be blind to them, but they don't have to affect your life, because your life is the meaning that you're giving to things. Your life is the emotions that you're driving up from your internal state. So what do you have any control over? Well, one thing is, you can change your state. I've been working on this for years, and I really, really feel like all this practice, Dr. Joe Dispenza and all the neuropsychologists talk about this thing called neuroplasticity. that the brain has this unbelievable ability to adapt and change still as you get older. It's not frozen, it's not locked in. You can train yourself to see things differently if that's your intention. And then you will, because you believe it. The beliefs run everything, so by believing it, you will see it differently. Well, try this. I want you to do a little exercise. Look at the person next to you and just go back and forth 3 or 4 times and say, you know what I like? I like, and then say something that you like. Anything. It could be ice cream to vacations to anything. I like this. Really? What do you like? What do you like? What do you like? Try that real quick. Okay, now stop. Stop for a sec. Did you go back and forth? Everybody tell each other what you like?
Yeah.
Okay. So, how do you feel now? Did it make you happier?
Yeah.
It works. It changes your state. When you think about what you like, you get reminded of things that make you happy. And so, I do this thing. When I wake up in the morning, I just declare that I'm only interested in what I like. As a matter of fact, all through life, that's all I'm interested, period. I'm only interested in what I like. I'm not interested in what I don't like. Because I'll tell you, if you give somebody a microphone, they're happy to tell you what they don't like. But if you really make it your business, no matter who you meet, no matter what circumstance you're in, just talk about what you like. It will make you happier. If your intention is to be happy, that'll do it. And so it's really, really changed me. I just find that's the only thing, and the more I'm into it, the more I see there's a lot more stuff that I like. So if you just decide that that's what you're going to do, you will be happier because you'll be in touch with the things that give you joy. Also, you can't use the mind to lose the mind. You can't take on your ego. There's no point in fighting your ego. Or, I should do this, I better do this, and meditate harder, you know. I saw this other cartoon. This woman was meditating, and she was fully dressed like for work and everything. She says, come on, inner peace, I don't have all day. You know? There's so much of this stuff has humor in it, because that loosens things up. I wanted to leave you with this quote from the Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, which I thought this was great. Another Zen master said, "A great cosmic joke is that you are what you are seeking. All the religious and spiritual seeking on this planet, and you end up back where you started. If that's not a fantastic joke worth a good belly laugh, I don't know what is." Okay. And Thich Nhat Hanh says this. He says, "I laugh when I think how I once sought paradise as a realm outside of the world of birth. It's right in the world of birth and death that the miraculous truth is revealed. But this is not the laughter of someone who suddenly acquires a great fortune. Neither is it the laughter of one who has won a victory. It is rather the laughter of one who, after having painfully searched for something for a long time, finds it one morning in the pocket of his coat." All right, thank you. I'm going to do one song that fits this, and again, it has to do with generating this state. If there's something that you want, let yourself feel that as if you have it already. Anyway, we're going to do the song. And then that'll be the end of the talk. All right, wait one second. If I can find it. Here it is. If I haven't introduced him before, John Paul is a new member of our group, and he's a wonderful addition. I'm having too much fun here. All right. All I'll ever need when all is said and done lies inside of me. The game's already won. Life waits in disguise till we open up our eyes. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
How much must I change about my circumstance? Must I rearrange the steps in every dance? When I look at all I have, the blessings of the day, I wouldn't have it any other way. How are we to know what will make us strong? What will help us grow? That which lifts our heart calls to where we are.
I can only see that which I believe. The beauty of my dreams,
Beauty of my
is
dreams
there to set me free. And if you start to feel your dreams as if they're real, well, you wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, you wouldn't have it any other way.
No, I wouldn't have it any other way. Thank you.